Hi guys, my name is Jessica Oxner and this is Dan Rose. You know him as the CEO for Six Pack Shortcuts. Today we're going to be doing something completely different. Today we're actually going to be talking about entrepreneurship. We're introducing a new channel called Pajama CEO. There's a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs out there who need to know more about how to start their own businesses, and Dan, being someone who has already started a very successful business, is definitely somebody that we can go to for that information. Dan, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure thing, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm super excited to be bringing you guys this new Pajama CEO channel, and I think it's going to be great. My name's Dan Rose, I'm 31 years old, and I'm the CEO of now sixpackabs.com and Seniority Health, the #1 most subscribed fitness channel on YouTube, and I'm hoping pretty soon, #1 and #2. We started the business back in 2010. Back then, it was just me and a couple other business partners. It was just us in a little apartment with our laptops. We were able to grow the business to a size where we have this wonderful office that you see behind me, a great community of over 4 million people on YouTube, and many other social media communities as well. I prefer to leave the fitness advice for the most part to the real experts. Guys like Mark and Clark, Toby, Johnny, Henry Thomas, and all the other great trainers that we have. Those are the guys that I personally learn from and get my own fitness advice from. So I feel like I'd be doing you guys a disservice not here directly from them. But I gotta say, I really do miss talking directly with you guys and being on camera and being able to share things. And I do feel like I have a lot of things to share with you along with Jessica. But I feel like the things that I have to share with you aren't really related to fitness. It's more related to entrepreneurship. I've had a lot of mentors who have really changed my life by showing me that I didn't have to work my whole life doing something that I didn't like, that I could make a living doing something that I love and make a really great living doing that as well. What I want to do in this new channel is I want to kind of share some of these things with you and pay it forward and share these things that changed my life and enable us to grow this business from just a couple guys with our laptops in an apartment to ultimately this office you see right here in the community of over 4 million subscribers. It's been a really amazing journey, and in these videos I'm really excited to share these things that have changed my life with you guys. But I'm very excited to bring you guys Jessica here, my amazing girlfriend. Can you tell the people a little bit more about yourself, Jessica?
Sure. I am just now starting my own business. I'm running a swimwear company, drop shipping. What made me an entrepreneur is the fact that I went through what everybody goes through. You go through high school and you go to college. Your parents are like, go to college, get a good job, work that 9 to 5, and you'll be set for the rest of your life, right? You're working really hard, you're turning your gears, but you're not really getting to where you want to. And because of that, I decided, I was like, well, why don't I just take things into my own hands? And so I decided to start my own business. I'm
really excited to be bringing Jessica on this channel because like she said, she's starting her own business right now. We're gonna be taking you a little bit behind the scenes and showing you guys some of the stuff she's doing in her business. One great thing I feel like you guys are gonna get from Jessica in these videos is inspiration. I know just seeing Jessica's work ethic, it really inspires me sometimes to step up my own game and realize I should be working a little harder myself. And I hope by seeing what she's doing that, it's gonna inspire you to step up your own game as well. Because I've been doing this for a long time, and obviously we have a bigger company now. Most of my friends are more established business owners. But I wanna also make sure that we take care of the needs of people who are just starting businesses right now. And that's kind of where Jessica is and where I think a lot of you guys are too. So her job in these videos is to be your advocate and to make sure that we're covering the topics that you want to know about and that we're making videos that are really helpful for you. So super excited to be bringing videos to you with Jessica, and I think it's going to be great.
All right, Daniel, so what are some tips that you could offer to our viewers that would help them start their own business?
I want to share 6 tips with everybody out there today, which are some of the most important things that I've learned along the journey that I think could help you guys out who are interested in starting a business or making some money online. And if you guys like these tips, and I encourage you guys to subscribe to our new channel, we'll be going a lot more in depth and showing you guys more stuff. So the first tip that I would have for everybody is make sure that you tap into the power of video. I really feel that video is not only the future of marketing and business and entrepreneurship, it's the present, and a lot of entrepreneurs really underestimate the power of video. I've done consulting for a few different businesses and looked at other people's businesses, and the single biggest thing that I usually wind up saying is that you should make more video for this or that or the other purpose. So I feel like video is really powerful, and it's super critical that you involve it in your business.
But why exactly is it so critical to business?
There's a few different reasons for that. The first one is that I feel like entrepreneurs really overestimate how much people are reading these days and people's ability to comprehend written material. I really love reading myself. Like Jessica will tell you, like I'm always at home like reading stuff on my iPad, and I used to think that everybody else loved reading as well. But I did some research that showed me that this wasn't really the case, especially among younger people. What I found out is that the average person reads at about an 8th grade level of comprehension, and also statistics are that the average person reads fewer than 1 book per year. If you're building a business that's really dependent on people reading, I would say that you really got to look at these statistics and realize that it's beyond, just a few people here and there that are educating yourselves. Reading is actually going obsolete, and in the future, people will read much less than they do right now. And it can be hard for you guys, for entrepreneurs to relate to this sometimes, because as entrepreneurs, we tend to be the most motivated and the most dedicated and the ones who take extra time out to dedicate ourselves. So because of that, we tend to read more than the general population. But you should realize that for the average person, someone who has an 8th grade level of reading comprehension, reading can be difficult, and not only difficult, it can be kind of a pain, because you might have those words on the edge of your comprehension, but you have to kind of figure out what the person means as you go. So most people don't like reading, so I would say outside some specialized businesses, video is just going to make people like your business a lot better. Not only that, but it really goes beyond just issues of reading going obsolete. When you're on video, then you can see the person's body language, and you can kind of get a better sense of whether or not they're for real. I know for me personally, like especially when I'm making a bigger purchase online, if I don't see a video and I can't like look into somebody's eyes and like, you know what I mean? If I don't know exactly who might be behind this website, I'd be a little hesitant to type my credit card number in. And I know a lot of other people are like that too. So just think about that. You can not only make more connections with customers, you can make deeper connections with customers. And there's one final reason that I feel like video is super important. Every year, text content stays the same. If you have a website where, let's say you have a bunch of products and you have like a text listing for every product, your website doesn't get better every year, but YouTube gets better every year. You know what I mean? Like if you're serving videos on your website embedded on YouTube, those are going to get higher definition every year. They're going to stream faster for the user. There's going to be devices like cell phones and iPads and things like that. Every year they're going to get better and make your video better, where else text-based businesses will just kind of stay the same. I would say right now that you got to involve video in your business one way or the other. You got to put videos on your website. I would encourage you guys to get involved with YouTube or other video platforms, and I would encourage you guys to involve some kind of video material in your product as well, whether it's the product itself or a bonus that you would get along with the product, or some other type of education material that would go along with the product. So that's why I feel video is so important. Not only the technology, but just because of cultural trends, I just feel like it's going to be the key to business success in the future.
What about those people out there who are not so video savvy and feel kind of uncomfortable in front of the camera?
That's a really good question too, because a lot of people don't realize this, but I am actually not that video savvy. I mean, I'm making this video for you guys right now, and I'm comfortable talking about, my wheelhouse, which is entrepreneurship and starting a business. I'm kind of an introvert, and in the beginning of this business especially, I wasn't very comfortable being on camera. But I thought, like, how can I tap into this power of video? And the way that I eventually did it was partnering with other people who were really good on camera. I very rarely appear on this channel, but you can see that I have been able to tap into the power of video to build this community with you guys by putting experts like Mark and Clark, Johnny, and all the other guys who are much better than me on camera to tap into the power of video. So I would say, I know this is probably going to be your first objection, that I don't want to go on camera, and even if you don't, just realize that you can partner with other people, hire other people who are good on camera, and still tap into that power of video.
What would be the best way to tap into that then?
So I think the #1 best way, one way or the other, is to build a YouTube community. Obviously, that was kind of the biggest factor behind the success of our community and our business here is YouTube. So I feel like YouTube is the most powerful method for a couple of different reasons. We've experimented with both hosting videos on our site and hosting videos on YouTube, and what we found is get very expensive to host your own videos. At one point, we were paying upwards of $50,000 a month just to host videos on our website, and that's not even including like the videos actually on YouTube. That's just talking about like the sales videos and the product videos only on our website. When we embedded things with YouTube instead, what we found is that things got a lot faster, and of course we didn't have to pay that kind of expense. But it really goes beyond just saving a little bit of money. YouTube is really gotten a monopoly on video content online. No other company has the technology or the data centers to serve videos as fast as YouTube. No other company has the type of content on YouTube where there's just such a massive content that it would be very difficult for any other type of social network to dethrone YouTube at this point. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the details of exactly how to build a YouTube channel later, but YouTube, I feel like, is the #1 most powerful source of video online.
So what would your second tip be then to all of our viewers out there?
Okay, so here's the second tip. From looking at my friends' businesses and from the businesses that I've consulted in and just in my own past business experience, I find that a lot of the problems people have come down to one root cause, which is a lack of focus. And this is the thing that I want to talk about a lot on our channel. So I find what most people do is, they do the natural thing. So most entrepreneurs, they want to educate themselves and learn from a variety of different experts. They learn from experts who say, YouTube is the best, like me, But maybe somebody else says Instagram is the best, and maybe somebody else says Facebook is the best, and somebody else says, radio commercials are the best. And, all these different experts have all these different approaches, and they're all legitimate experts. Every approach can work. However, what most people try to do is, because they're hearing from all different things, they're not exactly sure which one they should focus on the most. They try to do a little bit of everything. They make a little Facebook page and make a little Instagram and make a little YouTube profile and a little bit of Pinterest and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And they kind of sprinkle all their resources like rain over the ocean, just a little bit of everything. And people figure, I'm not missing out. I'm taking advantage of all the opportunities. But I feel like this intuitive behavior is exactly the wrong way to go, and it's the cause of most solo entrepreneurs' businesses ultimately going out of business and failing. And here's why I feel like this is such a huge mistake. When you're a solo entrepreneur, when you're just one person in your apartment or in your house just working on your laptop, you got to realize your resources are pretty limited in terms of the time you got to put into this and the money that you have to put into this. And you have to realize too, from the customer's point of view, the customer is only interested in the best solution for their problem. Let's say, for example, like for our business, like if you're looking to get six-pack abs, nobody's really interested in the 9th best way to get six-pack abs. You know what I mean? Or really even the 2nd best way. People just want the best solution for their problem. And almost always, people regard the best solution as being the most popular solution in the market. Obviously, not everybody goes with the most popular solution, but it's kind of the default that you think that if something is the most popular, then at a minimum it's legitimate and it gets first consideration for being your best solution. So I feel like the real way to become successful online is to become #1 in your niche. And what I mean by that is the type of problem that you're solving for the customer within a certain social media platform or within a certain method of connecting with customers. Let's say if you have like a Facebook profile, an Instagram, and a YouTube right now, what I'm saying is that you should focus on only one of those things and put everything into just becoming the dominant YouTube profile or Facebook profile or the #1 most popular thing in your market. And that, I feel like, is the true key to success.
So if you are a new entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out exactly who to market to, who should we go with?
Yeah, that's a really good question because you do have to ultimately figure out which one is the best before you focus everything on the best option. And Jessica and I have actually talked a lot about this for your own business. What I feel like is the best approach is to take kind of an experimental approach where you do try out a few different methods of connecting with customers at first. And these can be either social media sites or offline ways of connecting with customers. So I can give you an example of how we did it in our own business when we were first starting Six-Pack Shortcuts. So when we were first starting Six-Pack Shortcuts, we tried out a few different methods of connecting with people and introducing people to our stuff. We tried out, putting out some stuff on Facebook, posting up some workouts and stuff. I believe we also tried out some banner ads. We tried out YouTube as well. We put up a few videos on YouTube, and we tried out a couple of other things. I believe it was about 5 things in total. And we just did a little bit with each of these things just to get an initial read on, where the people were at. Another important thing is that we didn't even have a product back this time. We were just kind of getting an initial read on where people would follow us, not even necessarily where people would buy. So we posted up a few videos on Facebook and a little bit on Instagram and a few on other social media sites, and nothing really took off. But we posted 2 videos on YouTube, and they each got about 10,000 views. Now I know looking at a channel right now with like 4 million subscribers, it doesn't really seem like that much. But back at that time with 0 subscribers, 10,000 views was crazy. That was like, that was easily by far the greatest response that we got out of any method of connecting with customers. So at that point, we dropped every other social media site and all the other offline things we were doing, and we decided to focus on YouTube only, and we did that for a while in our business. Could you talk about a little bit, Jessica, what you're doing in your own business and that experimental process?
For the most part, I've decided that I'm going with AdWords and Instagram. I've dabbled a little bit with Facebook, but the reason why is because my particular product in my business is very visual. Instagram makes sense for that because everything on Instagram is a picture, and so if I decide to run ads, then it meshes in with everything else that's there and kind of helps to build my business in that way. Facebook, I decided to go with for the same reason. Video ads on Facebook are very easy to do, and not only that, but they help you connect with your customer in a better way. I also realized that AdWords was really great for its analytics, and so I could kind of measure out what was going on in my business and decide what was best and how to grow. And so I've decided that those were my 3 key components for the most part.
Yeah, and I think those are 3 really good things to experiment with, because you can't really tell which one would be the best without trying them all out. I was super excited to be with you for an epic moment where your first sale for her business came in. She set up a little cash register, it sounded on her phone where it came in, and you were able to find out later that that sale came in from AdWords.
Yes.
So obviously that was only the first sale, but let's say if there were 10 from AdWords and you know, like just 1 or 2 from the other sources, I think that'd be a pretty clear sign that that's what you would want to focus on. So if you're following Jessica's Instagram or like, you know, 2 out of those 3 social media profiles stop getting updated, then you'll know why. It's for a better cause, just so she can focus on, you know, something more important.
Okay, Dan, so what is your 3rd tip for our new entrepreneurs out there?
That last tip was more for people just starting off, where I feel like that'll help you guys out a lot who are just starting your business. But I wanted to make sure to let you guys know that if you have an established business, that you're going to get some love on this new channel as well. So I have a tip for those of you guys who are already starting off with advertising that's a little bit more advanced. It has to do with the targeting on your advertising. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with that concept, the targeting of your advertising essentially means who your advertising is shown to. And it can be very important, because if you show your advertising to the wrong person, it doesn't really matter how good it is if they're just someone who doesn't really want your product. There's 2 types of targeting online, and most people are not aware of this distinction or why this distinction is so important. 2 major types of targeting online are contextual targeting and behavioral targeting. Contextual targeting was the original type of targeting that started in the beginning of the internet. Essentially, contextual targeting means that your advertising is targeted to a certain page, or, you know, a certain video, or it's targeted to the content that somebody is watching. You may not necessarily know who is watching it, but you kind of make some assumptions, you know, based on the content. Let's say, for example, if it was like a website about swimwear, it'd be reasonable to assume someone on there is probably interested in swimwear, but not really 100%. So there's different methods of contextual targeting that we're going to talk to you about later. The second type of targeting that I want to talk to you guys about is behavioral targeting. Behavioral targeting is really a revolution in technology, and I feel like it's really going to change advertising and change business forever. The reason why behavioral targeting is different is that it is not targeted to the page that you're looking at, or the video you're looking at, or whatever content you're looking at online. It's targeted to you. Rather than targeting it to the content, what Google and Facebook and all these companies do is that they have a tremendous amount of data about, you know, your likes and your dislikes, your interests, and not only what you're interested in, what you're purchasing online. Keep in mind that almost all websites now run Google Analytics, which is the software package from Google that tracks sales. So they know not only what your web browsing history is, they also know exactly what you're purchasing online. Also keep in mind that Android will track not only your web browsing history, but your geographic location. So Google will not only know your home location, but where you regularly travel to. There's so much data that these companies have on you that people don't even know about. And really, we've just scratched the surface on the amount of data that these companies are going to have on people here. So the reason why I feel behavioral targeting is so important is that I feel like targeting your advertising to the person rather than targeting it to the page is fundamentally a better way of doing things. Let's say, for example, like a website about getting six-pack abs. If there was a website out there about getting six-pack abs, it might be a reasonable guess that somebody on there, you know, is a good person for our business. But it's not really 100%. Some people are just looking to see pictures of other people with six-pack abs. They're not necessarily looking to do it. Some people are just kind of kicking the tires, and they don't actually like sign up for workout courses, or you know, they don't actually like take action. You don't necessarily know 100% if the person is a good prospect just from the website that they're on. But I feel like the data that Google and Facebook and these companies have for you to use is a much more reliable way of knowing if somebody is a good person that you might want to reach out to become a customer for your business. Now, a lot of people are kind of concerned about this because it is a little like Skynet. They do have a lot of data on people. However, you got to see the good side of this from the consumer's point of view as well. Obviously, this is a lot better for businesses. It's a lot better for Google and Facebook. But from the consumer's point of view, I know before this started, I used to get a lot of really irrelevant, annoying ads that weren't really targeted to my interests. But ever since this has started, I've noticed that I see more ads that are targeted to my specific interests for things I might actually want to buy. Think about that as well. Not only is behavioral targeting better for the business, it allows you to target customers, customers better, but it's actually better for the consumer as well because it allows them to get things that are more relevant to their individual needs.
All right, Dan, so how can business owners use behavioral targeting to their advantage then?
So I know that sounds super complex and theoretical, contextual versus behavioral, but just keep that distinction in mind if you're first starting off. So as far as how to use it through the magic of video editing, we will now show you the AdWords interface, and then I'll show you kind of the options for using behavioral versus contextual targeting in AdWords. Within AdWords, the types of contextual targeting are topic targeting and keyword targeting that you're seeing on screen right now. These types of targeting, while they are useful, I do feel like they are slowly going obsolete and they're not really the future. The behavioral targeting options that I'm talking about are these. Number one, affinity audiences, and what this means is essentially groups of people who are interested in your type of product. For example, I know there's affinity audiences about swimwear. These are people who might have gone to websites about swimwear or Facebook pages about that, but they haven't necessarily purchased something yet. The second type of behavioral targeting is called in-market audiences, and these are different because these are people who may have actually purchased swimwear in the past. This type of audience is usually a lot more expensive to advertise to, but obviously it can produce a lot better ROI even so because it's people who have actually bought something, so you know that they're really interested. The third type of behavioral targeting that I feel like is a really special and important type of behavioral targeting is called remarketing, and we're going to talk a lot more about remarketing in future videos. But remarketing is essentially when somebody goes to your website, Google or Facebook or another company that you're advertising with will put what's called a cookie on their computer or a small piece of data that lets them know that they're interested in your stuff. So because it's already known that they're interested in your community and your business, Google or Facebook will show the ads to them more often because they know that they're already interested. So this is a really revolutionary marketing technique that I feel like is making advertising a lot better for consumers and also much more profitable for businesses as well. Just remember those options for now. Affinity audiences, in-market audiences, and remarketing are the three major types of behavioral targeting. There's also a lot of behavioral targeting within Facebook and other advertising platforms, and we're going to be walking you guys through that in future videos.
What would be your fourth tip to all of our viewers out there?
Okay, so I know we just spent a lot of time talking about advertising because I do feel like advertising is really important. However, I did want to make another tip that kind of recognizes this, that advertising is not really the holy grail of how to build a business. A lot of business owners kind of think that. They're like, oh, no matter what I have, you know, if you just like run the right ad on it, people like it and they'll buy it. I've had a lot of business owners approach me and ask me to do their marketing where they're like, oh, you know, maybe nobody really wants my thing right now, but just work your marketing magic on it and then everybody will buy it. But it doesn't really work like that. The way that advertising really works is that if you have something that's successful on a small scale, advertising can scale that up tremendously, like 100x. And that's kind of what happened with our six-pack shortcuts business. We had like a small scale success, we had a small community, and we tremendously scaled that up with advertising. We found though that if there isn't really demand for something to start off with, if it isn't a small scale success without advertising, then you're probably never gonna make it more successful with advertising. In fact, you're probably just gonna scale up the failure. And unfortunately, we kind of learned this the hard way in our own business. Just to kind of take you guys behind the curtain a little bit and tell you guys about one difficulty that we faced in our business recently. So a few years back, we started a channel in our business called Insane on Fat Loss. A lot of you guys have probably seen it. And I really feel like the workouts on the channel were really great workouts. It's workouts that I believe in. The trainers were great, you know, both the male and female trainers, but we made a really critical mistake in the start of that channel, which was that we put male and female trainers together and kind of made it a unisex workout. And from what we've seen in the years since then, what people wanted was really the opposite of that, where they wanted a workout course for men only or a workout course for women only. And because of that, the channel, before we advertised it, was never really a small-scale success. But we were thinking on our side, we were like, oh, you know, the workouts aren't bad. This is really solid information. If we just advertise it, everyone's going to see that, right? Unfortunately, it didn't really work out that way. Unlike six-pack shortcuts, because it wasn't a small success, we really just scaled up the failure, and ultimately the channel wasn't as successful as we'd liked. We did ultimately build up 700,000 subscribers and a small-scale profitable business, but it wasn't really on the scale of what we're looking to do. So from that, we did learn something very valuable, however, that advertising can really only scale things up.
But why is it so important to build up context as well as advertise then?
You have to have good quality content in order for your advertising to even work. work in the first place. But I feel like there's a second reason that people don't really know about for why advertising alone is never really going to build any successful businesses in the future, and why all businesses need to establish a community on social media in addition to advertising. A lot of people have asked me about this in our own business, like why do we spend so much on building up this YouTube channel when there's no direct return on investment? And there is a really important reason for it that I want to share with you. Look at your own behavior when you're buying stuff online. I know when I'm looking at my own behavior when I'm buying stuff online, I very rarely just see an ad and I'm like, okay, I'm sold, and then I buy it, especially if it's something more expensive. Usually it's going to take a few different touches for me to be convinced, and I usually become convinced over a longer period of time. For example, the way that it works in our own business is that we were looking back on the average amount of videos that people watch before they buy, and we kind of thought, like, maybe somebody sees one and then they decide to sign up, or maybe at the most they see 2 or 3, but we're actually finding on average that most people watch between 5 and 15 videos before they eventually decide to buy. And in hindsight, looking at our own behavior as consumers, I can kind of understand why that is. When you're buying something online, I mean, all of us work really hard for our money, and we want to make sure that when we're buying something online that it's legitimate. Not only because we don't want to waste money, but it doesn't feel good to get scammed online. It feels really bad. Even if it was just like $10, you kind of feel like you got fooled, and it doesn't feel good. So even on a small scale, you want to make sure it's legitimate. The way that most people do that is they'll go in and they'll check out your website and they'll kind of see if you're legit. But there's become another factor recently that's become more important than just having a good-looking website or having good testimonials on your website. And the reason for that is all that stuff can be faked. I mean, you can ultimately fake all that. But there is a way that's unfakeable that a business can demonstrate that they are legitimate and that they are getting results for customers, and that's social media. For example, when you look at our YouTube community, there's a lot of people that come in, especially back when we were called Six-Pack Sharks, to be like, oh, there's no shortcut, but I'll just check this out. But then when you see the community of over 4 million guys, you can see that obviously that there is something legitimate here. If over 4 million people are subscribed, you can read all the comments and see what results people are getting. And you can see that for any skeptics out there, that maybe it's not the best one for you, but it is definitely something legitimate that many other people are getting results from. I feel like just in terms of like validating that you're legitimate, the community is so important. If you're advertising right now and you don't have a community, then you're probably wasting 80% of your advertising spend, I would say, just because most people are not going to buy just on an advertising alone. One final reason why I feel like a community is so important, human nature. When we're evaluating things online, there's many people claiming to be the best. Like for example, in your market, there's probably 10 different sources saying that they're like the best one, but let's imagine that you're the consumer. When you're buying something, how do you usually determine if something is really the best? Usually it's not from the claims the advertiser is making. Usually it's from the social proof that you see outside there that other people are talking about. And by social proof, what I mean is what other people are saying on YouTube or Facebook or on Amazon reviews, or in general, your popularity in the online community. A lot of people think that we make our own decisions and we just independently decide which is the best product. But the reality is most people start by considering the most popular things, within the most popular solutions for their problem first. And the default assumption for most people is that if something is the most popular, that it's usually the best. So that may not be accurate all the time, but for the most part, it's much better than going off the advertiser's website, because this type of social proof is real and it can't really be faked. So that, in a nutshell, is why I feel like the community aspect is so important and why there's no future in advertising alone. You're wasting 80% of your ad spend, I would say, if you don't have a community, and that social proof is really the most unfakeable way of demonstrating that you're the best solution.
I'll definitely agree with that. I've actually experienced that, building my own business, where I actually had someone email me where they were like, hey, I see your site, I love what you have on it, but where are you based and what do you do and where do you get your product from? And because I had no social proof, this person didn't trust what I was selling. And so I completely agree with what you have to say there.
Yeah, exactly. And I can remember in the beginning of our business when our website was kind of thin and our social media profiles weren't really updated out. We got a lot of those kind of questions of people trying to like investigate us, you know what I mean? But that's not something that we ever have to deal with anymore, just because, people see the Facebook and the YouTube and things like that. And they know that, 4 million people aren't going to be following something that's not legit. So they know at a bare minimum that this is a legitimate thing that has helped people before.
Okay, Dan, so those are some really, really great tips for our new entrepreneurs out there. As I was building my own business, you also let me know that there are definitely some red flags as to building partnerships. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure thing. And this is something that we were talking about a lot. Because I feel like you were saying, the wrong partner can really make your life miserable. And I know I've made some partnership mistakes in the past, but the right partner can really change a lot of things for the better. And I know that a lot of people watching this right now, like, it can kind of seem overwhelming when you're first starting a business. There's so many things you have to learn. I mean, just in this video alone, we've talked about, learning all these different ways of connecting with customers, from social media profiles to offline things, learning how to do advertising. There's also other things you'll need to know besides that, like how to build a website, how to do the graphic design, how to get your products. There's just so many things that you have to learn. And it's so difficult to do everything yourself. You guys might be wondering, like, how I do everything in this business that we do. I mean, we have lots of advertising going on. Obviously, we're posting videos about all the time about lots of different topics. We have very complex accounting systems that we have to set up in the background. There's this whole office that we have to run. There's so many different parts of the business. But the reality is that I don't do everything myself. I have a team of people who are all smarter than me in the specific area of the business that they handle, and that's how we get the most stuff done. And even in the very beginning of our business, that was one of the biggest keys to success. If you guys want to laugh sometime, go and use what's called the Wayback Machine. We'll put a link in the description. And go and look at sixpackshortcuts.com from back in 2010, and you can see my web designing skills. It was ugly, it was bad, like everything was like broken because I wasn't really the best at making websites. I tried, I really did my best, but it's just not really my strength. But when the business started to take off was when I met Henry. And when Henry, one of my partners in the business now, when he started handling the technology for the business. When he started doing the coding and design for the website and things like that, it was 100 times better. Our website wasn't crashing all the time. It wasn't just like red and black text. It was like a real website, and everything got a lot better. And it got better for both of us too. I got to focus on what I liked and what I was good at, and he also got to focus on what he liked and what he was good at, and the parts that he didn't like happened to be the things that I really liked myself. So it was a real revolution, and I gotta say, guys, like, I probably would not be here talking with you guys today if I hadn't made the right partnership decisions for people to work with. So if you're wondering right now, like, there's some parts of the business that need to be done but I don't like, or it feels like I can't do all this stuff myself, I want you to start considering that. Start thinking about what you're good at and what you're weak at, and then use that as a filter to kind of find the right partner. Just as an example, Jessica, what would you say in your business are the things that you are personally strong at, that you want to keep handling, and the things that you might want to have a partner handle?
So I feel like I'm really good at the marketing aspect of my business. Anything that has to do with marketing my business, or if I were to have to meet with someone and present something to someone, I would be really, really good at those aspects of my business. But where it comes to the financial part and the bookkeeping, I feel like I would be kind of a little bit lost in the water. So that would be somebody that if I were considering having a partner in my business, that I would definitely look into.
Yeah, and Jessica and I have been talking a lot about this for our own business because she gets compliments everywhere she goes when she wears swimsuits. She's got like a great fashion sense. So I feel like, in terms of selecting and sourcing the inventory, obviously that's your strength. That's what you're really good at. In terms of like being the face of the brand, you know what I mean? Like you sell it really well to other people. But I can kind of see you going through those struggles to like code up the website. It really reminds me a lot of where we were at back in 2010 when I was doing that kind of thing myself. But that's what we were talking about for your business. Like, imagine if you could have somebody to handle those kind of things for you, like how much easier it would make things.
Definitely.
If you're watching this right now, I'd like you to kind of go through that exercise that Jessica did right now. Think about what is really your core strength and what you want to handle, and think about what would be better if somebody else who was good at it handled. And then you can use that as kind of a search criteria for looking for a new partner. So obviously there's a lot of other things that you have to look for in order to find the right partner. And in our channel, we're going to be talking a lot more about those other things and going deep into detail about how to find the right business partner.
Most people would think that in a partnership, they should go with somebody who they know really well. Why not their spouse? Why not their girlfriend or boyfriend or wife?
That's a really common question, and so I want to say this first about partnerships, that the right partnership can totally change your life. Like, if you partner with the right person, it can change your life, it can change the other person's life, it can truly be a win-win that dramatically revolutionizes everything. However, I would have to say it is in a lot of ways a lot like a romantic relationship. Like, if you have the right relationship, it can make you happier in undescribable ways. But if your relationship is bad, it can really make you miserable in a lot of ways too. So it's a critically important choice, and a choice that a lot of people get wrong. And I feel like by learning a few simple techniques like we're about to share with you, then you can make a lot better choices. I want to talk a lot more about business partners because there's a lot of different red flags that I've learned to look for in people that you partner with and people that you hire in your business. But today, I just want to share with you the biggest ones that have been the biggest mistakes that I've made in my past. The first mistake that I wanted to share with people out there is partnering with their friends. This is a mistake that I've made in 3 different businesses in the past, and each time it's really come back to bite me. And it really makes me appreciate the business partners I have now that are all really hardworking and much better partners than the friends I partnered with in the past. Everybody kind of assumes that if you're working with your friends, that your friends are going to work harder than someone who's not your friend, right? Everyone assumes like, oh, you know, he's my boy, so of course, you know, he's going to work those extra hours, and he's going to do this, and he's going to really go the extra mile. But what I've found in 95% of partnerships between friends is that it doesn't really work out that way. Most of the time, the way it works out in the partnership between friends is that one partner does the majority or all of the work, and the other partners are to one degree or another freeloading off of him. And I know that it doesn't happen 100% of the time. Some people partner with their friends and it works out great, but the majority of the time it does work out that way. So I feel like it's a losing strategy for success. It's kind of like some people get rich off of putting out a rap album, but it's not really a winning strategy of becoming wealthy because it's not a high probability chance of success. So I would say #1 biggest thing, if you don't take anything else away from this video, do not become business partners with your friends. I just feel like it might ruin your friendship, and it might also hold you back from business success as well. So just to address your original question, though, there have been a lot of people asking us about, you know, should I become business partners with my wife or girlfriend? And I know you guys probably think the answer is implied because we are partnering here on this channel. However, surprisingly, I'm going to strongly recommend against that. That might be the worst partnership decision you could ever make, probably even worse than partnering with your friend. And I'll tell you why that is. First of all, if there's problems with your relationship, then it can really destroy your business. This hasn't been something that we've done in a long time, but many years ago, we partnered with a business. The other partners in the business were a married couple. And everything was going well. It was a really great business opportunity for a long time. But unfortunately, the couple ended up getting divorced. And after they got divorced, they tried to work together, but they weren't really able to work together anymore. And although it was a great opportunity, there was no reason for it to fail other than that. The business disappeared just because they weren't able to work together. But really, it goes beyond that. It's not just a matter of making less money. If things start going wrong in your business, realize that it could ruin your relationship as well. And that ultimately, I think, is probably going to be a lot more important in your business. I mean, I think it's going to be tough to like be struggling through like, you know, like a losing business that you both like really hate and things aren't going well, and then you like go home and have great sex at night. I mean, it's not realistic to like, you know, have a great relationship and a failing business at the same time. So for those reasons, I feel like, you know, it's a huge mistake to partner with your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend. That being said, though, to explain the reason why we are partnering on this channel together, both Jessica and I make almost all of our income from other sources, and this is more just a passion project. That's something that we're doing for fun. So because of that, we feel comfortable partnering on this together because it doesn't affect almost all of our income. But if this is something that the majority or even a good part of your income depends on, then I highly discourage you from partnering with your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband.
Well, I think that was a really good tip. But what will be your last tip to give to our audience?
All right, so to wrap this all up, I want to give you guys one last tip because I know I gave you guys a lot of stuff in there. However, I also let you guys know about a lot of things that you're going to have to work on. And you might be wondering, like, man, how do you get the motivation to do all this stuff? Like, for example, I know you go to work every day and then you put in extra hours when you go home working on all this stuff. And you might be wondering, how do you get motivation like that to learn all these things and do all these things that you have to do? So I've really thought about the question of motivation for a long time because I do think it is the ultimate key to business success. I mean, ultimately, if you're motivated to do what you have to do, it might take a little shorter or it might take a little bit longer, but I do feel like most people are motivated and keep showing up day after day, do eventually get there and become successful. But to get yourself motivated, I take kind of an unconventional approach. I don't really believe in the traditional, like, Tony Robbins, like, let's get pumped up style of motivation. You know what I mean? Like, I've never really been a big one for, like, motivational speeches or anything like that. Because I feel like when you hear a motivational speech, if it's a good one, you know, maybe you get pumped up for a few hours, but you never get pumped up for, like, a year from a motivational speech. You know what I mean? Like, it's an emotional high that kind of fades out. So I feel like the best way to motivate yourself isn't generating some kind of, like, emotional high or getting yourself pumped up. It's to see things in hindsight. To see things, imagining you're 10 years in the future, imagining you've already seen success, and looking back on the present as if it is the past and realizing how much things matter. So I know for me personally, this is one of the biggest ways that I draw motivation because I have been in the situation 10 years in the past where I was struggling with motivation. And back at that time, I was thinking like, man, you know, like I had this goal at the time to save $10,000, right? Which kind of seems like a pathetic goal now, but it was a really big goal for me at the time. And every month it was just such a struggle to like save like $100 or like $200. I'm like, man, why should I keep doing this? Like, why should I set discipline? It'd be so much easier just like, you know, get drunk or like buy some weed with that money. Or, you know what I mean? Like that would be so easy. But I thought about like 10 years in the future, like how things would matter more and how things would be compounding. And I feel like that's really the ultimate secret to motivating yourself, to realize that the things you're doing today matter a lot more than you think because of compounding effects. So a lot of you guys are familiar with the concept of compounding when it relates to money, right? Actually, for those people who might not be familiar with it, can you explain that concept of financial compounding for people?
Oh, basically you take what you've got, you put it away, and then that money is able to grow, right?
Exactly, right? And most people are familiar with this. You know, financial advisors would be like, let's say if you took that $10,000 and you put it into mutual funds, in 10 years it would be, say, like $30,000. You know what I mean? So just financial compounding alone can motivate you to realize that saving money and doing these things to build your business to generate more money, it can really matter a lot more than you think. It's not only the money that you're getting today, it's also all of the compounding that you're going to earn in the future on this money. So that alone can be motivating. But I do feel like financial compounding is really only the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of other types of compounding that take place besides that. One type of compounding that I feel is extremely important is learning. Because you don't, let's say if you did set that goal similar to my first goal, to save $10,000, you could go and put all that money into mutual funds and make an okay return, but there's a way to make that money compound for you much faster and to make your initial success compound much faster. Let's say, for example, you took $1,000 out of that $10,000 and you bought a course and you learned some really essential business skills. You might be thinking like, okay, I learned these skills and I'm gonna do this year, but you don't really realize the compounding effect that those skills have. The reason why I feel like it has a compounding effect is the more you learn, the more you realize what you need to know. When you're first starting off, it can be difficult to know what to learn because you don't even know what you need to know. But let's say, for example, you get started with something, you get started with a course on how to build a YouTube community, you're probably going to realize a lot of tangential things as a result of that. You're like, oh, you know, I need to learn what camera to buy. You know, I need to learn how to edit videos. I need to learn how to do advertising. So you'll realize what you need to know as a next step. So everything you learn as you're starting this business here is going to be compounding. So you should let that motivate you to learn more because everything you learn will have a much bigger effect than you anticipate. Second way that I feel like things are compounding is confidence. When I had that initial goal of saving $10,000, I wasn't really that confident in myself. Honestly, I didn't think it was realistic because I was only saving a few $1,000s a month. I was like, man, you know, I don't think I can do it. I never really had any kind of successes behind me, so I doubted myself a lot. And because of that, I kind of half-assed it. I didn't try as hard as I could have because I was kind of afraid of putting in all this effort and then getting no results in the end. But once I achieved that goal, it really gave me a lot of confidence. I'm like, man, you know, I did it. This goal I've been working at for years. If I can save $10,000, maybe I could save $25,000. You know what I mean? Like maybe I could start a business or do something like that. So hitting these small goals right now, let's say if your goal was only to save $1,000, or let's say it was just to get out of debt and get back to zero. If you hit that goal, you got to realize that it's not only getting out of debt or not only saving $1,000, it's all the confidence that that's going to give you compounding into the future could translate into hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the third way that I feel like compounding is really important is that your mental state and your physical state are also compounding. One thing I didn't realize when I was saving that initial $10,000 is that when I had that $10,000 saved, it put me in such a more relaxed state of mind because I was really living in kind of a hand-to-mouth manner before that, where essentially like if I were to get laid off from my job at the time, I would not be able to make my rent at the end of the month. So I had a lot of background anxiety in my mind about money. You know what I mean? It was always a constant concern that if one little thing went wrong or if I had some unanticipated medical bills, like I can't pay my rent. So that really took a mental toll on me that I didn't realize that at the time, but it does take a toll on you if you don't have any kind of savings at all and you have those kind of financial worries. On the other hand, though, once I had that money, even though it wasn't a huge amount, I had a minimal type of cushion, so that anxiety and fear of things going wrong was greatly reduced. And that's what enabled me to take bigger risks and ultimately to start a business and to do other things. Another aspect of compounding that I feel like people underestimate is your physical state. your health. So when you're starting a business, if you're putting in crazy hours and things aren't working out and it's frustrating, it can be really difficult to eat right and to exercise and to do the things to take care of your body. On the other hand, though, if your business is successful and you don't have to work as much and you have the money and the time to take care of yourself, it's so much easier to eat right and to take care of your body. And what most people don't realize is that, if you are doing those things, eating right and taking care of your body, you'll become more productive and therefore earn more. And if you're not taking care of your body, you'll become less productive and earn less. So your health, both mentally and physically, is going to compound with the success of your business as well. So those are just a few examples of ways things compound that I feel like it can really motivate you to realize that the tiny successes that you are striving for today, it can matter so much more than you think. My personal estimate of how much that initial $10,000 ultimately made me was between $500,000 and $1 million. I really feel like it made that much difference in my life just because of all these compounding effects. If I had only seen that at the time, I would have been so much more motivated. So the way I motivate myself right now is thinking about what I'm going to be thinking about 10 years from now. From hitting these seemingly small goals now, I know it's going to have a much greater compounding effect 10 years from now. And that's how I motivate myself personally.
I'll agree with that, but I think you are missing just one other point that is a great motivator for everybody out there, and that time is compounding. So the time that you put in now, guys, if you're really thinking about, you're like, man, I don't know if I want to do this, I don't know if I want to take things into my own hands, think about the fact that you're putting the time in now for your future. And so later on, when you're successful, you'll have so much more time to do the things that are important, to be with your family, that you're not at work 9 to 5 all the time, but you have to put the time in now to actually get there.
Glad that you added that on, because especially for people who are working a full-time job and doing this part-time, I know like the time can be very limited, and even when you first quit your job and you're doing everything in the business yourself, it just seems like there's not enough hours in the day. Like, how could you possibly do more if you only have so many hours? But once you go full-time in the business and you don't have to work a job that you don't really like anymore, it's going to free up so much time for you, which will enable you to achieve more business success. And once you're able to hire people to handle the things in your business that you're not personally good at, again, that just frees up even more time, which again, you'll be able to use to build your business more, which frees up more time. So that's such a great point, that time is also compounding too. And if you guys want more tips like this, then what I'd like you to do right now is to click or tap on the link below and go and subscribe to our new Pajama CEO channel. We have got such great stuff coming for you guys, and I'm really excited to have some fun making these videos and to share this stuff with you guys. So we're going to be bringing you some videos like this where we're going to be giving you tips on how to start a business, how to make money online, and how to make a living doing something you love. We're also going to be bringing you interviews with successful entrepreneurs in my network, guys who I really admire myself, who I've really learned a lot from. We're going to be doing interviews with them on camera and getting them to share their best stuff that they use to build their businesses. So I'm super excited for that because I think learning from these guys can really change your life as well. And not only that, we're not only going to be teaching guys stuff, we're going to be making some more fun videos as well. We're going to take you guys a little bit behind the scenes, show you guys the house a little bit, kind of show you some of the things that you haven't seen so far and peel back the curtain. So I'm really excited for this channel, Pajama CEO. Go there and subscribe now.
Guys, go click below and subscribe to Pajama CEO, and we'll see you next time.
See you there.